Howdy, 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 howdy. If you've been a OG HouseHacker Seattle Happy Hour attendee, you know that we've been doing this for 2 or 3 years now, and the group has grown pretty dramatically. We took a break over the summer and didn't do any events over the summer, and then obviously I think everyone heard about this in the last 5 days or so because we announced it 5 days ago or so. So thank you for coming out, short notice. Good to meet some of the new folks here. Good to see some familiar faces. We are not a short notice crew moving forward. First Thursdays of every month, we are actually booked out all the way until May right now with speakers. And we got Thatch Wynn coming to talk about DADUs and Burr. We got Sarah Weaver to come talk about investing out of state. We've got Russell and Lambert, arborists, coming to talk about what the hell is up with Seattle trees and what exactly can I do or not do to a tree in Seattle. Arborists are probably blowing their top right now because suddenly they're the most popular kids in the room and they had no idea that this was going to happen, but trees are a popular topic now in Seattle. So we got some really good stuff coming. And today we've got some really good stuff for you here too. We've got Brittany French, my property manager and the property manager for a lot of other people I know in the room, real estate agent as well. She has been in this business for a while, and I've been really pleased with the way that she manages my portfolio. And she's going to share a little bit about kind of what she looks for and what she tries to do to try and set your properties up for success, especially the ADU and DADU properties up for successful management after you buy them. So I'm really excited to kind of get the full picture here. If you've been coming to the events, we've been trying to get builders out, we've been trying to get contractors out, we've been trying to get all these different pieces of the puzzle out and talking to each other so that we can see this whole process from start to finish and learn from each other and figure out what the best way is for us to move forward as house hackers and real estate investors in building a portfolio. Because the goal for me and the goal for a lot of you I know is to build some sort of wealth and use that wealth to accomplish your goals, whether it's spending more time with family, whether it's traveling, whether it's pursuing whatever other wild dream that you have. Money, like it or hate it, is often the way to get there. And one of the great ways to make money in today's world, especially in the Seattle market, is to invest in real estate. So I'm hoping all y'all achieve your goals. I'm hoping that this event and future events help you get there in some small way. And I'm excited for what we have today. But without further ado, I'm going to stop yapping. Please welcome Brittany French to talk.
Hey guys. So Michael texted me not even a week ago and asked me to come and speak. So I did not know what to expect at all. This is far more people than I thought would be here, so excuse me if I'm a little nervous. And I just put together a quick little outline, and it's unorganized, okay? So it's gonna be just a brain dump of everything that I think about ADUs, DADUs. When did we stop calling them DADUs? DADUs? DADUs. I always called them DADUs, but
iPhone autocorrects it to daddy.
That's funny, yeah. No, my name gets, because I'm Brittany, BB, is BB French, and autocorrect changes BB to baby. So very many of my clients have actually been like, hi baby, oh God. That's kind of funny. All right, cool. So let's get into it. So the first thing is non-conforming multifamilies, so your ADUs, right? So how many people like to buy a property and then somehow turn a single family into 2 units? We like to do that. Okay, I know Michael does. That's great. And I know Michael preaches it, and it's a fun thing to do. It does create some issues. And so if you're coming in and you're renovating or doing some rehab work, there's some stuff you can do at the beginning to prevent these problems or at least minimize them. All right, so the first thing is you're gonna have shared utilities between the 2 units, right? So how are you gonna deal with that? The worst is when you have one unit that controls the heat for the entire house. Right? So the usually it's like a 1-bedroom or like a smaller unit, and they don't have any control over their heat. So if and when you're doing your rehab, if it's possible, you've got a furnace. If it's possible, talk to your HVAC person, if this is in your budget, and just disconnect the heat to that unit and put in wall heaters so they have control of their own heat. If that's not possible, if it's not feasible, if it's not within your budget, you just kind of have to deal with it. It's okay if the one unit that's controlling the heat doesn't, like, runs it colder than the other person likes, because you can buy the other person's space heaters and then they can turn up the heat. Yes, sir?
But if you're going to do an ADU, the city will require you to have independent heating systems for both units, right? So you have to do it. If you're going to do it with a permit, you have to use independent services from heating.
Yes, if you're going to do it and you're going to get the city to approve and you're going to have permits, you're going to do everything by the book, absolutely. You're going to have different electrical panels and all of this. But a lot of my clients, a lot of people I know, they don't do it like that. They don't do it like that. So I'm talking about workarounds. The workaround is space heaters. Okay? So the only problem is if the controlling unit cranks their heat and your other tenant doesn't like it. It's also problematic because if you're renting this little one bedroom, maybe you travel a lot, there's a reason you're not going to be there a lot. So it is going to just drive the price up for, the utility cost up for all the tenants. That aside, I mean, if and when that happens, you just kind of have to deal with it and customer service it out and either talk to the controlling unit, offer rent credit, let them crack their window, that's all they can do. Shared unit, shared utilities. Also, how are you going to deal with the splitting of the cost, right? And so to have this set up at the beginning so that you can advertise it correctly, have your leases set up correctly, and it's clear and everyone understands, and having clear and consistent messaging on how much you're billing to which unit and why you're billing that much is important, okay? Because you have to be able to disclose that from the beginning. And this whole we'll figure it out. Like, no, you have to advertise it and put it in your lease. You can't just say, we'll figure it out. Because first of all, most tenants or applicants won't even sign with that. It just causes confusion and upset people. So, how are you going to bill it? We like to do it based on number of bedrooms. And we've done a bunch of different things. The logical thing in your head is we'll do it based per person, right? There's 3 people living in this unit, there's 1 person in this one, so obviously the people with 3 people should pay more, right? But the problem is that people move in and out. And then her boyfriend's here all the time. Well, he has kids here, but my kids are only here on the weekend, so they don't really count. It's okay, guys. So the clearest way to do it is that we found is just bedrooms. Bedrooms don't change. People move in, people come out. Does a kid use as much utility as an adult? Arguably, they use more. I don't know. Don't want to debate it. Just come up with what it's going to be, set it, and that's what it is. Don't change it. And have it set up before you even advertise. So you have it in the ad, in the lease. No room for argument. Similarly, shared internet. Right? Because you've got one address, Xfinity or whoever can't, there's one account. So what are you going to do? You have to. The only way to work around this is set up the internet, have your Wi-Fi set up, include it in rent, and give your tenants the logins, just like an Airbnb does or that sort of thing, because there's no way around it. Another big one is the shared mailbox. Okay, so you've got one unit, one address, USPS. They're not gonna honor, you can't register a second unit unless you do it right. Like he just said, if you're not gonna do it right, then you just kind of have to jimmy rig a second mailbox and label your units A and B. But it's important. And this is one of those things that people leave until after move-in. And all of a sudden tenants are like, where's the mail? How do I get my mail? And they're like, how do I set up my internet? These are important things to people. How do I get my Amazon deliveries? So just make sure you add a second mailbox, okay? Shared yard, what's that going to look like? How's it going to be divided? Is there a fence? Is there this? Does the lower unit get the back and the front unit gets the front, or however it's going to work? Just make sure that it's clear and everybody understands what it is. And if they're sharing, you're sharing. Okay? Get along. So however it's going to be, but just make sure you have a plan for it. Okay. DADUs, similar issues, but not exactly the same. So depending on how you're going to do it, your builder can register the second address sometimes, sometimes not. Either way, it's a new construction. So if you're going to do a deal with, you have your house that you bought, you're going to rent it out, and you're going to build a DADU. First thing you want to do is if you're going to do construction during tenancy, we're going to disclose that, and we're going to get an addendum with a lease that discloses that there'll be a DADU constructed. You're going to lose like the majority of your yard. Ideally, a site plan is included so they see exactly what they're losing and what, if any, like rent credit or whatever is going to happen during construction. Are you going to offer maybe $250 off a month during the construction for the inconvenience and noise and dust and whatever it's going to be? Have it written out. They understand. They get it. It just solves a lot of problems from the beginning. Same thing with the shared utilities. It may or may not be shared utilities with the DADU. I've seen both. Shared yard, and then establishing your second address, and then getting your internet set up ahead of time. Because if it's a brand new address, there's not the fiber optics or whatever Xfinity needs to just be able to turn it on from their end. So being proactive about it and having Xfinity come out and set all that up so when your tenants move in, they can just do it online and go. Because the majority of tenants, they move in, first thing they need is internet before anything else. They'll come in, they'll set up their desk, their computer, and their bed. And it might take them 2 weeks to move in the rest of the stuff, but that's what they need to function, right? 'Cause most people work, if not completely from home, a lot at home. They need their internet. And so I've seen this where people build a whole new unit, there's no internet, it's gonna take Xfinity 3 days, a week to come out and do what they need to do to get it set up. So if you can set that up ahead of time, just like you set up all your other utilities, just another vendor. Okay. So that's, the main things about the ADUs and the DADUs are just those shared things. And I just see so many clients come through. They have these things. They've done all this work. They've done their renovation. They push us to get it on the market like yesterday. And it's like, well, these details are important. They're like, yeah, just list it. Get the photos up. List it up and start showing it. I'm like, okay, but people are going to have questions and we don't have answers. And it's just not good. So those are my thoughts on ADUs and DADUs. I was gonna flip into just general multifamilies, rentals in general, just renovation suggestions. Does anyone have any questions, comments, things to add? Go ahead.
Do you have any recommendations for people who just bought a DADU? We're gonna be living on that, like that.
No, I would just act like a normal, like a tenant. Yeah. Like, oh, like, because otherwise they're going to knock on your door, hey, my toilet's leaking, or hey, there's a clog, or whatever it is. Or, hey, can you put in a new, ceiling fan? And if they come to you and say that, maybe you do want to do that, but you want to think about it. You can be like, you know what, that's a great suggestion. Let me talk to the owner about that. Okay, right. Which may or may not be your LLC, your partner, your spouse, whatever.
If I'm self-managing, I can cosplay as the property owner or the property manager?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. Totally. Sorry. It's a little bit not true. Like you're not being fully honest, but you just you don't want those knocks at night or if they think it's your job, then they're going to give you a different level of respect that you're just some greedy landlord who's trying to take their rent money and not fix up the story that people, and I'm not saying that everyone's like that, but there are the tenants like that just will make your life not fun. Yeah, so you want to have just a little bit of distance. Yeah, that's what I would suggest. Yes, sir.
Whether it's like a legal unit or illegal unit, are there any like hot button areas where you
Dog poop. No, they don't clean up their dog poop. She did this, and that. Normal stuff, noise. So just making sure your lease has clear, like, quiet hours. Ours are 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. I mean, that's a bit smoking. Smoking. So he smokes in his unit. I have allergies, whether it's cigarettes or marijuana. They're not supposed to smoke in their unit or within 25 feet of all doors or windows. Yeah, those are the biggest ones. And then you'll have, common like roommates or like significant others break up. But if they're not married, then they're just roommates effectively, right? So one's gonna move out, there's gonna be a big fight, they hate each other now, whatever, that kind of thing. But in those situations, we don't get involved at all. Like, hey, you guys both signed the lease, you're both responsible for it. Please let us know who's moving out. Yeah. Yes, sir.
How often does like the city come and like kind of like?
I've never seen it happen. Yeah. Yeah. As long as you're meeting the if it's City of Seattle, the rental registration ordinance, all their little standards in there, which are pretty basic, pretty like just a clean, safe property. Yeah, I've never seen them just shut it down. Yes?
Do you guys also deal with evictions, or like if one of the neighbors is not complying?
Yeah, if someone's not complying or they're throwing parties or littering or whatever they're doing, first thing we do, first offense, we phone call, email, just try to talk with them, see if we can figure it out that way. About half the time, they'll be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was bothering them. I'll totally stop, my bad. Then if that doesn't work, then yeah, we do a 10-day comply or vacate notice. We'll do that internally first. If that doesn't work and it's escalating, the situation's getting bad, then yeah, we'll hire the eviction team, the lawyers to take it. And in that case, like depending on what the complaint or the issue is, the lawyers will have recommendations for us and the other tenants. I have many stories that I could go into, but there was one where a gentleman was just, I mean, honestly, he's suffering mental illness issues, and he was it's a fourplex, and he was making all the other tenants feel very uncomfortable. He was yelling and like just doing stuff outside. So the lawyers had the tenants like documenting and like keeping like time logs of these occurrences so that they had something to work with to get him evicted, and also to get him help. He needed support, like he needed people to get involved with him. So we had to start taking pictures, doing a log, so that we could do that. So it just depends on the situation. Yeah.
If you were to go through with an eviction, would it be?
We do it. Yeah, we do it. So we hire a legal team. It's LT Services. They only do evictions in King, Snohomish, and Pierce County. And, you can look them up. They're great. They're not exclusive to us. So if you're self-managing, you can use them. LT Services. We like them because of, well, one, they only do evictions, so they're specialized. Two, they have a very straightforward, transparent fee structure. So it's not like a lawyer where you just pay, $380 an hour for whatever, you know what I mean, where they just bill you for every 2 minutes that you speak with them. They just have like, it's almost like a menu. Like, okay, we're gonna post this service notice, like $50 in this. So if you go all the way through the whole process, you'll pay everything, but if at any point during the process, which happens often, the tenant just says, you know what, I'll just leave. Thank you. Then they leave, and you're not, like, then the lawyers just stop billing because it's resolved. So it just goes down. And all their pricing's right on their website. Yeah, we just comp like an apartment. Yeah. If it's a duplex or if it's an ADU, I mean, yeah, just like a normal place, unless there's something really weird about it. Yeah, I mean, a basement's gonna, is going to be a little less, right? It's just like a basement apartment or basement anything, gets less light. Yeah, I mean, I would just run comps, right? And so just start high and then adjust every 4, right? So based on your activity. So you list it at, so let's say market rent for this 2-bedroom is, you know, $1,700. Okay, so that would be, and it's all new and looks good, and you have comps to back it up, you're at $1,700, you post it, it's been 4 days, you've gotten 2 inquiries, you're too high. Okay, right? So drop it. Yeah, and then just, look at it. I mean, we look at them weekly. If I was self-managing, I would look at them every 3 or 4 days, you know, and go from there.
If you're listed fairly, like you're saying, waiting 4 days to increase your listed to?
At least 4, like 1 a day, 4, 8, yeah. And that's the other thing is like, how long are you going to keep it like you're going to hold out at $1,700 and be on the market for a month, but if you drop to, you know, 16 and you have it rented in a week, you just made the money back. Yes, sir.
I'm just curious, so like generally in Washington there's like a sentiment that, you know, evictions are quite...
Yep, sure do. Yeah, it's very hard to evict someone. We don't like to evict anyone. We like to work with them or convince them to just move out, you know, because it's going to be faster, it's going to be cheaper, the property will probably be in better condition. Because while you're in an active eviction, you can't collect any rent. If you start collecting rent, partial payments, anything like that, then the eviction starts again. Yeah.
Do you have a sense of general timelines?
It depends on the county. Vincent does that for us, but yeah, I want to say like 3 to 6 months. Yeah, up to 9. We've had some go as far as 9. It also depends on the tenant and how like they're responding, and if they show up to court, like they can really drag it out if they know how to do it. So yeah, but once they show up to court, if they show up to the court date, then they get assigned a public defender, which can be good because then the public defender can connect them with all these like eviction prevention programs, and they can offer you a check. If you take the check, the eviction process starts again. But at this point, I mean, we've accepted checks up to like 17 grand from these people. So the owner, I'm like, do you want the 17? The tenant owes you 24. They're offering 17 to wipe this at 0, and then we have to start this whole thing again. Do you want it? And the owner will be like, yeah, I need it. Like, right, I want it now because they've been sitting without getting rent for however many months. So it's kind of like how you want to do it.
Like, do you sometimes it's probably just let's say I can try to go.
I mean, we don't usually offer them money to leave because typically they owe us money. But we will work with them, like waive the lease break fee, stuff like that, and say, hey, you know, you've got $3,500 deposit sitting here. Once you move out, I can release this to you. How about you just move? Because you're not going to want an eviction on your record. And they'll say, oh, you know, it's always a sob story. I can't, I don't have anywhere to go, da da da. And so I have done things where I move them into another unit that we manage that's like cheaper, just depending on their history and kind of like their payment history and just if we want to move them to another property. If it really is a hardship, whether it's personal or a job or, you know, often it's like something big is going on, right? There's like a divorce or their family member is sick or something's going on that we, you know, if they had a good payment record before, then yeah, we're incentivized to work with them and try and figure it out. If not, if they've always had a shaky payment history, then we're not gonna do that. Like it's not good for our clients to say, hey, here's like a tenant that like, yeah, no. So
overall, what is the success rate to offer eviction?
well, I mean, eventually 100%. if we go through the whole process, I mean, eventually, if you go all the way to the end, they're going to do a sheriff's eviction. So the cops are going to show up and physically remove this person from the place if they're still there. I've never seen them actually still be there on that day. but their stuff is all there. Then we have to take all of their stuff and put it out on the street for 24 hours so they have the opportunity to come get it, and then we have to store it for some amount of time that I can't remember. So yeah, it's a mess. But yeah, when we do the physical eviction, sheriffs show up, which once you get it from the court, which took 3, 6, 9 months, whatever it is, usually like 6-ish months, the court says, okay, we're gonna do the physical eviction. Then you have to schedule with the sheriff's office, which can be like another 3 to 6 weeks, depending on their schedules. Yeah.
Is there a way, if they refuse, but is there a way to get the money back?
Yeah, I mean, you send them to collection. So the first thing you do is, withhold their deposit at this point, because now they've finally moved out. So now you can apply their security deposit to the outstanding balance. So whatever that was, you can get that. And then the only thing you really can do is send them to collections. So they go to collections. Nope, those are the only things you're allowed to screen for. You can't ask anything else. But you can look at what their debt is. This is something I kind of look at, right? Like, so if you have your credit score, because when you get the credit report, it says exactly who they owe money to. And you can kind of get a read on their financial decision-making choices, right? So medical bills, student loans, a car payment, okay, right? Even if they're, because a lot of times the kids, they come in and they were born, the year I graduated high school, and so they're young, their credit score might be, 630, okay? And you look at it, and it's like, all right, well, they have one credit card with a $1,000 limit, right? Because they're 19, and a Honda Civic payment. Okay, right? They're questionable, right? Yes.
Yeah, so renting out to bachelors versus renting out.
Well, you're not allowed to discriminate. Okay, so you can't prefer a family versus a couple versus roommates. You can't discriminate based off gender, age, familial status, any of that. So yeah, I mean, you're gonna get, there's stereotypes we can make about all of these people, but I could also say that people with kids are gonna destroy your house, right? Because their kids are gonna run everywhere. People with kids are more likely to miss work and therefore more likely to lose their job, right? We could say all sorts of stuff.
Is it discriminating though if you're sharing the house?
There's really specific rules about roommates and how they're able to select. Yeah.
I think if it's roommates, you can choose. Basically.
Yeah, roommates allowed to discriminate. But yeah, they're allowed to be a little bit more picky.
The rent value needs to include that utility in the top value, or can it be part of description saying?
It's part of the description. Yeah. But people they don't like it when you say, oh, your utility is going to be $450 a month. Even though that's accurate of what it is, they get mad. And I have just people on the Zillow listing. They're like, you guys are a joke. They're who charges $450 for utilities? Your competitors are charging $150, type of thing. So, people get really caught up well, this is what my utility cost is, so this is what my utility income should be. It's does it matter, actually? If your rent is $300 more and your utility is, it's the same.
If a tenant requests to see the utility bills?
Yeah, you send them, yeah. Yeah, we send it to them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just upload it right to them, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Charging fixed rate per month for utilities is not acceptable practice?
No, it's good. I like it. I prefer it, honestly. It's less work. Yeah.
Do you mostly do that for a specific utility, just water? Do you also do power?
Depends. If it's ADU and they're sharing the electricity between the two units, we have. You can do percentage. You can do percentage. You can say this unit gets charged 60%. This unit gets charged 40%. Then you got to sit every month or 2 months when the bills come in. You got to do the math. And you got to enter it in and do it that way. And then they're going to squawk at you all the time. I'm they're using too much water, and They ran the sprinkler for their kid's birthday party last weekend, so they should have to pay more. So I've just found that, you know, especially if you're self-managing, you don't want to deal with this, flat rate. Nobody argues. Mm-hmm.
So I currently rent, and I have to set up the utilities myself.
There's no risk. There is risk, especially with the water. So we made a whole decision. Sagarius takes the water sewer garbage bill, puts it in Sagarius' name, keeps it in our name. We get the bill, we pay it, we add it to the tenant ledgers. And we let them set up their electricity themselves. There's a couple reasons for that. Number one is there were problems where making sure it actually gets transferred between tenants. Two, because we needed to come back to us and then to the new tenant. So we have water during turnover. And then two, with this, we're able to monitor it and we're able to see the usage so we can detect leaks that they're not seeing. Like we've caught 2 leaks. One was under the house, the water heater was under the house, it was leaking, nobody knew. And then the other one was a hose spigot thing, was leaking like behind the exterior wall, like down, and nobody knew. But we saw the spike in the water use. So there could be undetected leaks, or it could be an indication that you've got twice as many people living there as they reported. Okay, so that can signal like, you know, if there's high water usage, we're going to schedule an inspection. We're going to see what's going on. So either we're going to figure out there's more people there, or we're going to look for a leak. Then you use a moisture reader and look for it. Mm-hmm.
Way to answer his question. I don't know about Washington. You probably know Washington better than I do. But like in some states, the water company
yes.
is not the tenant. So
that's
the risk in other states.
That's the other thing. And that's why we like to keep it in our name. Because depending on the water company, depending on where the property is, you can, like, it's in the tenant name, and you can sign up for their little landlord notice thing that they'll notify you if the tenants get behind on rent. But we've had this happen to clients where we don't get the notice for like 6 months, and the tenant hasn't been paying the bill, and it's like $200-300 a month. So that adds up. Obviously, they're not paying their utility bills. They're probably not paying their rent. They're going to move. They move out, and now the owner is hit with this, you know, $1,800 bill, and they won't turn the water back on until it's paid. And obviously we're going to bill it back to the tenant, but they already skipped. So owner's out $1,800. We're going to send them to collections. What are you going to do? So we just like it this way. That way we're controlling, like we'll know in 10 days if they didn't pay their utility bill to us. So it's a lot more work though. It really is, because you got to get the bill, pay the bill, add it to their thing. And they have questions, there's things, so. It's worth it though. Yeah, pet rent. I love a pet rent.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's like a typical average?
$50, $100. Okay. Yeah. So
Maybe
whenever people are like, "What's your pet policy?"
Size of the pet or something?
30 pounds. You know, we always say 30, up to 30 pounds. You can do 50 if you have a big house, a big yard. Okay. I like a weight restriction, not a breed restriction, right? Because now you got to prove that they're like, "Oh no, it's not a pit bull." I'm like. You sure? Because it sure looks like one. Like, no, it's a mix. Okay, right, so weight limit, we just do a pet rent. So just pet rent. We don't do a pet deposit, right? Because if you have a pet deposit versus your security deposit, then it's on you at move out to prove that this damage came from the pet to withhold from the pet deposit, and this damage, it's all one deposit. Okay, I don't care who peed on the floor. Okay.
You had any horror stories of a lot of damage from cats?
Yeah, cats, dogs, children, humans, everybody. Right, so that's what we say. There's no such thing as a bad pet, there's only bad pet owners. So if your screening is good, you'll have a responsible person, they're gonna take care of their pet.
What amenities do you feel like tenants really appreciate?
Great question, thank you. How'd you know it was on my list? It's like I fed her that. Okay. I'll skip the obvious stuff. So I always want to think of like the livability of your property, right? Like obviously you're going to have a clean, safe, warm home. You're doing the basics. Everyone feels good there. Great. Now the next level is like livability. So like low cost touches that'll make people stay longer. So you want to think of things that you use every single day. Okay, so like your front door or the main entry to the home, whether it's like through the garage or the front, however people are getting in, is that easy to use? Or is it like sticks and you gotta struggle with it? Okay, kitchen faucet, kitchen sink, make it nice. Okay, spend the extra $50, get them a nice kitchen faucet. Same with the shower head, right? Everyone takes a shower. Come home from work, come home from the gym, nice relaxing shower. An extra $100 goes a long way on a shower head, right? Built-in USB chargers, you know those outlets? Get a couple with the built-in USB. Everybody loves that. One in the kitchen, one in the bedroom. Ceiling fans. It gets hot. Most of our units don't have AC. One thing I saw recently was these built-in, so you know the AC, what are those, portable ACs? I call them like what's the little robot?
RTD2.
Yeah, like that, but the air conditioner. And it has the hose. You can get this little wall thing, and it is built into the wall, so they can just hook that hose right into the wall, and it goes out. Because otherwise, they're like dedicating a whole window or a whole slider to this AC thing. It's like $20 for the piece of hardware. And if you're already doing work, grab one of those. They're cool. Closet shelving, garage shelving, so just like making storage nice. Nice appliances. So appliances, I always say like try to proactively replace them before they fail. And a good way to do that is if you happen to be out on Labor Day or 4th of July and Home Depot's having a sale and you see a great sale on like a floor oven and you know your oven in your rental is on its last life and you get it at a discount, just go ahead and pick it up. So just trying to be like watching for those and then just let your tenants know, hey, we're replacing your oven. They're gonna love that. And then when you put the rent increase notice up, they'll be like, well, they did get us a new oven. That was nice. Instead of waiting. And that's the other thing with those appliances. When an oven or a refrigerator goes out and it's now it's dysfunctional, now you're scrambling and you don't get the luxury of discounted appliances that are going to take 3 weeks to come from Best Buy or wherever, right? Because you have to get it out yesterday. So appliances. Noise reduction between walls, like between units, and floors, right? So if you have an upper or lower, you can get the extra padding for the flooring, so it's just a little less noisy. Fully fenced yard, people love, speaking of the pets. And then landscaping. It's kind of an amenity, but if you have a really nice yard, yep.
So if you're building a DADU,
yeah.
The option to have extra bathroom.
Yeah.
A rooftop DADU. Which one do you think will have a better?
Wait, what is that?
A rooftop, like a rooftop
patio. So you have 1 bathroom or 1.5 bath?
So it can be either a 1.5 bath or be a 2.5 bath. But if you have a 2.5 bath, you can't have a
rooftop deck. Yeah. Right, because it's a 2-bedroom. DADU is 1,000 square feet or less, right? So it's already small. You're probably gonna have 2 people living there, either a couple or 2 roommates, right? They want the rooftop deck. They're gonna be younger. They're gonna have a party. You're gonna have a barbecue. What are you gonna do with 2.5 bathrooms? Yeah, you could have 2. I mean, yeah, that would be an ideal setup for like roommates, like a room with each their own bathroom. But that would be only ideal for roommates and not so much like a couple, you know. So you would really, if you're gonna go that route, then just know that's your demographic probably going forward. But the 1.5 bath with the rooftop deck is gonna have the most appeal, I think. Yep, absolutely. I would do that. And honestly, every time we do that, the tenants are like, perfect, because they want to be on that cycle too. Yeah, nobody wants to move. We were talking about that. Yeah, like nobody wants to move at Christmas time. So they want their lease to end in summer too. Yeah, spring, summer.
So the best time is like start of summer?
Yeah, I would say late spring, early summer. Yeah, even like late spring, because then depending on how much work there is. Oh, maybe what? Yeah, so like May, April, May, June, July. Our best. August starts going, you're pushing it, right? September, October, November, December, January, February, March.
That's a repair.
Mm-hmm.
When or at what price do you notify the owner?
The authorization amounts typically $1,000.
$1,000.
Yeah.
Anything below that, you kind of just take care of it.
Yeah, we just take care of it. If it's a reasonable request.
Appealing and how you may weave that into utilities, if that's common or not as well.
Yeah, so we don't manage midterm rentals anymore. We found that as a third party, because we have to charge for every turnover, that it ends up being a wash for the owner, right? Because that's where most of the work is. So we don't do it. I can't really speak to midterm rental. Do you have anything to... Did you ever do midterms?
Briefly. Dennis Wynn on the team does a lot of midterms. He's not here today, but usually when I send out an email at the end, I'll have people's contact info in it, so feel free to reach out to Dennis. He's down at Willett area and crushes it with those. But he still manages, so I think that's the other thing. So BB's not going away. I'm sure there are more questions, but I want to give everyone time to keep chatting, networking, get a little bit more food and drinks before we close up. 8:30, I'll start letting people know that we're starting to wrap up, and then 9 o'clock is like kind of, hey, you guys got to be out. So there's a little bit of wiggle room there. But Brittany French, everyone, we'll give her a round of applause. Over the next half hour or so until we close up. There are a few other people in the room that I want to point out too that can be really helpful resources for you, depending on what type of projects you're doing. First off, in the back there, we've got Kara Rosansky. She and Origin Point Mortgage sponsor this HouseHacker Seattle Happy Hour. She has been my go-to lender for a pretty long time now, maybe 6 years. Give or take. Yeah, so she's a really good resource for both conventional loans. I also just did a DSCR loan with Kara with a 10-year interest-only period, which was really nice with how high interest rates are right now. We've also got on the hard money kind of renovation loan side of things, we've got Israel Lopez here at Certain Lending. Another sponsor. So he is a good resource if you're thinking about doing an ADU, especially if you're thinking about doing an ADU DADU non-owner occupied or flip. Israel knows a ton about condoization processes. He knows a ton about renovations through your contractor / our contractor, right? Yeah. So he's got kind of that multi-level experience. So definitely reach out to him and chat with him before you leave about that approach. We also have David Weiser, possibly still here. David Weiser left, but I'll drop his info into the follow-up email along with BB's and Israel's and Kara's. David Weiser is a DADU builder. He built my unit in Wallingford that we just finished up a couple months ago. He's a really good resource for feasibility, for build costs, and for everything around DADUs. So if you are in the meetup group, you should get that email. If you don't get that email, go to YouTube and search for HouseHack Seattle, and when we post these actual videos, since we were videoing Brittany through the whole thing minus that one section that we're going to redact for legal reasons. When we post the video, we'll put Brittany's info up there, as well as Israel and Kara and David's info right there in the YouTube description, so you can find them that way and reach out. Thanks so much, guys. Enjoy the last little bit of networking, and hope to see you guys next month. First Thursdays of the month moving forward.